The question that is asked in the matching information questions is which paragraph contains the information or which section contains the information. And this is followed by some statements, and you need to figure out where in the passage that information is given. The passage is divided into paragraphs or sections, and they are labeled A, B, C, D, and so on. The difference between paragraph and section is that a section can have more than one paragraph. And this is something you need to be careful about. If the question says which section contains the information, one section may have more than one paragraph. So section A could have 2 or 3 paragraphs. In the case of pen and paper IELTS, you need to write the correct letter in your answer sheet. Whereas in the case of computer delivered IELTS, this question is given in the form of a table and you need to just click on the correct letter in front of the answer. To solve this question type, first, read all the questions. Identify the key information. That is the words and phrases from the question that would help you locate the answer. An important part of these questions is the first 2-3 words of the question that tell you exactly what you're looking for. For example, this question says, figures illustrating the rapid expansion of the palm oil industry. The key information is rapid expansion and palm oil industry. But the word figures is very important. The figures are the numbers. So I look for the paragraphs in the passage which have some figures mentioned, and then I'll check whether the figures have anything to do with the expansion of palm oil industry. Now, in case of this question, it says mention of the impact of budget airlines on airport income. So I'm just looking for any mention of this thing. However, in this case, the question says a reason why it is difficult to provide an overview of soil degradation. So now I'm not just looking for a mention of soil degradation, I'm looking for a reason why something is difficult. So the first 2-3 words of this question tell us exactly what we are looking for. Are we looking for mention of a person? Like it says here, a reference to one person's motivation for something. So I'm looking for mention of one person. Most probably, I'll find the name of a person in that paragraph. So read the question carefully, not just the part about what information you're looking for, but also the first 2-3 words of the question, which tell you whether you're looking for examples or mention of a person or a reason for something, etc. Let's look at a few examples now. These are the questions we are working on. The first thing we do is read all the questions. The words that I'll keep in mind when I start looking for answers are underlined on your screen. The instruction very clearly says you may use any letter more than once. As I mentioned before, this is very important, especially because we have only 4 questions and 7 sections, and still one letter can be used more than once. At the end of this video, I'll discuss how I use all this information about different question types to decide which question type to do first. Almost always, this is the question type I choose to do last. Because having done the other question types of any passage, I become familiar with at least some parts of the passage, and this becomes easier. Let's start with the 14th question now. A mention of negative attitudes towards stadium building projects. Negative attitudes means negative feelings or negative behavior towards something. With the 14th question in mind, I start scanning section A. On your screen, some parts of section A are in bold. These are the words I noticed as I scanned through section A. The first paragraph doesn't seem to have any mention of negative attitudes or stadium building projects. The word construction is mentioned, but it says something about before the construction of cathedrals. So this doesn't seem to be about stadium building projects. So I move on to the second paragraph of section A. The very first sentence of this paragraph says, today, however, stadiums are regarded with growing skepticism. Skepticism means an attitude which shows that you're doubtful whether something is true or useful. So skepticism means negative attitude. The next sentence says construction costs soar, stadiums for major events, fallen into disuse and disrepair. So what I get from this is that this is about stadium projects on which a lot of money was spent, and later these stadiums were not maintained and were not used. So this conveys a negative attitude about these stadium projects that are mentioned. The question says a mention of this thing. So we are anyway not expecting any details or any reasoning given behind it. Let's move on to the next question. Figures demonstrating the environmental benefits of a certain stadium. There are three very noteworthy things in this question. One is figures. I'm expecting some kind of numbers. Environmental benefits. I'm expecting some mention of the word environment or some other words which are very closely related to the subject of environment. And a certain stadium means one particular stadium will be mentioned, which means in all probability, the name of a stadium will be there. So the first thing I do is I start looking for the mention of any numbers in the passage. Section A mentions an amount, £1 billion, but these are construction costs. They have nothing to do with environment. Section B also mentions numbers, but these are number of spectators. That is, it is the count of the people in the audience. Again, it is not about environment. Besides these two sections, we only find a mention of numbers in section F. Section F also has names of a few stadiums. And just by glancing at this paragraph, I can see words like wind turbines and carbon dioxide emissions, which are connected to the subject of environment. So the answer here is F. In the description of this video, you'll find the link to another video which discusses these questions in detail and also other similar questions. Matching information is a very common question type in IELTS reading general training, but the way it is worded is different in this case. You'd usually get it in section 1 of reading general. What you get in this case is that in the passage you're given a list of things labeled A, B, C and so on. And in the questions, you're given some statements. For example, here you have a list of students and the subjects they chose. Another example here is a list of properties listed by a real estate agent. And here there's a list of different hiking booths. In each of the cases, the question would have a list of statements and you need to figure out for which of these things the statement is true. So the way you approach these questions is exactly the same. Just read the heading of the passage first, then go through all the questions, understand them, identify the keywords, and then start scanning the passage. Knowing the question types helps you decide which questions to do first and know the right technique for each question type. Basically, it helps you find answers quickly and correctly. All the different methods of solving these question types that I've recommended in this video are just that, recommendations and suggestions. Obviously, your target is to find the answer. Practice a lot. See what method works the best for you. But certainly, knowing each question type well helps you identify that method for yourself. Most importantly, you need this knowledge of different question types to figure out which question type to do first. And finally, practice is crucial. However, just do not practice one test after another without pausing to understand why you made the mistakes that you did. So do a practice test, correct it, go back and figure out why you made every single mistake, and then move on to the next one. Just doing a lot of practice tests, one after another, may not help you improve your reading score. That's it for now. Hope this helped you. All the very best.